So this is question 13. Create a truth table for P and Q or negation P. All right, so again, we see two letters or simple statements, P and Q. So I know I'm going to have 4 rows. I am going to handle what's inside parentheses first, so I'm going to make a column that says P and Q. I'm also going to leave some space there so I can write that all out. And then I'm also going to do negation P. So remember, order of operations, we do inside parentheses first. If we have parentheses, then we handle negation. Okay, so again, I'm going to have 4 rows. One, 2, 3, and 4. So P is always true, true, false, false. And Q is always true, false, true, false. Okay, I'm doing an and, so I'm going to recopy down the P column, which was true, true, false, false. I'm putting the and symbol in here, and then I'm going to do the Q, which is true, false, true, false. Now, remember, the only time and is true is when both are true, so that happens in row 1. Otherwise, it is false. So I get true, false, false, false. Now I do negation P. Negation P is a negation of true, which is false. In line 2, negation of true, which is false. In line 3, negation of false, which is true. And in line 4, negation of false, which is true. And finally, I should have wrote that last one in here. We need to put all the pieces together. So we need P and Q or negation P. Okay, so I need to fix this. So just give me a sec. All right. Got it. So P and Q I found to be true, false, false, false. I'm going to put in my or symbol, and I'm going to do negation P, which I found to be false, false, true, true. Now remember, this is an or. Or is always true unless both are false, and that's the only time it's false. So in line 1, we have true or false, which is true. In line 2, we have false or false, which is false. In line 3, we have false or true, which is true. And in line 4, we have false or true, which is true. So our truth values are true, false, true, true. Okay, number 14. Create a truth table for the negation of P and, in parentheses, Q or negation R. Now I see 3 simple statements, P, Q, and R. And you might be noticing that I'm making a lot of room because we're going to have 8 rows. So I'm going to do negation P next. And then I'm going to do a negation R because that's what's inside parentheses. I'm going to do inside the parentheses, so I'm going to do Q or negation R. And then I'm going to put all the pieces together. So negation P and Q or negation R. And that should be my last column. Okay. Now I need 8 rows. So here's row number 1, row 2, row 3, row 4, row 5, row 6, row 7, and finally row 8. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and clean this up a little bit. Okay, and let's label them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, so the P column is going to be 4 trues in a row, and then 4 falses. Okay, and then Q is going to be 2 trues, 2 falses, 2 trues, 2 falses. So we alternate true, true, false, false. And then R is going to be true, false, the whole way down. So we alternate between true, false, true, false. All right, so now that I have that done, I'm going to negate P. So negation of true is false. Negation of true again is false. negation of true is false, and negation of true is false. Now we have negation of false, which is true, negation of false, which is true, negation of false, which is true, and finally negation of false, which is true. Okay, now I have to look at the R column. So negation of true is false, negation of false is true, negation of true is false, negation of false is true, negation of true is false, negation of false is true, negation of true is false, negation of false is true. All right, now I'm going to put together Q with negation R. So Q column, I'm just going to write it down. It's true, true, false, false, true, true, false, false. I'm going to write the OR. And now I'm doing negation R. So negation R was false, true, false, true, false, true, false, true. So let's put those pieces together. It's an OR. So the only time OR is false is when both are false, otherwise it is true. So in line 1, true or false is true. In line 2, true or true is true. In line 3, false or false is false. In line 4, false or true is true. In line 5, true or false is true. In line 6, true or true is true. In line 7, false or false is false. And line 8, false or true is true. Okay, now I got to do that last column. So I need negation P. Negation P was 4 falses and 4 trues. I'm going to write that down. And then we have the and symbol. Now I'm going to look at Q or negation R, which I found to be true, true, false, true, 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 false, true. Okay. So I'm looking at an and the only time and is true is when both are true. So in line 1, false and true is false. In line 2, false and true is false. In line 3, false and false is false. In line 4, false and true is false. In line 5, we have true and true, which is true. In line 6, we have true and true, which is true. In line 7, we have true and false, which is false. And finally, in line 8, we have true and true, which is true. So my truth table values are going to be false, 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 true, true, false, true. Okay, that was number 14. I am going to do 15 because 15 is a little bit faster. So 15 says determine the truth values of each compound statement when. Now they tell you what P is. P is false. And they tell you Q is false. And then you tell you that R is true. So merely what I have to do is plug in wherever I see P, I'm going to plug in false. Wherever I see Q, I'm going to plug in false. And wherever I see R, I'm going to plug in true. Okay, so the first one, I have negation, and then in parentheses, I have negation P. So negation false or Q false. Then negation R, which is true. Okay, now I'm going to clean this up. So I'm going to negate. Negation of false is true or false inside those parentheses. And then we're going to do negation of true, which is false. So that's what this looks like right now. Now I am going to bring this over here. So I'm going to call this part A. So I'm going to put A continued. I'm working inside the parentheses. True or false is true. Then false. Remember, if you start with something true and you back it up with something false, the answer is going to be actually false. Now I'm going to work my way outside to the negation. So negation of false is true. So this whole thing is true. On the test, you're going to need to show all steps. So I'm going to put a little arrow that I brought this up here and finished it out. Okay. So same thing for part B. We're going to do negation P. So negation false, biconditional. Negation Q, Q is false, and R is true. Okay, so negation false is true, and I'm going to work inside those parentheses now. Negation false is true. So we have true and true inside the parentheses. True and true is true. So true, biconditional, true. Remember, with biconditional, the letters have to be the same for the result to be true. So the answer to this is B. All right, so let's do part C. Again, wherever I see P, I'm going to plug in false. So I have negation, false, then R, which is true. Biconditional here, and then we have P or negation Q, which is false. And I shouldn't have wrote the P there. I need to plug in wherever I see P, I plug in false. So I have in that last parentheses false or negation false. All right, let's work inside the parentheses. Negation of false is true. So we have true, if true, then true. And then we have the biconditional. We have false or negation false, which is true. Okay, so if I start with something true and back it up with something true, it's true. Biconditional. False or true is true. So I have the biconditional. The letters are the same, so the overall result is going to be true. So that's B. Okay, that was number 15. So thanks for watching. Questions, I believe we started at 13 here, 13 through 15.